His face was pale, his lips bleeding, but his eyes burned with love. "I'm not leaving you," he said softly. "Not until you're safe." Noah's voice cracked. "You already saved us. Let's go, Dad. Let's run." Daniel wished he could. Every part of him longed to scoop them into his arms, to run out of this nightmare and never look back. But deep down, he knew the truth. The ship around them was alive, pulsing with power. And at the center of the chamber, through the storm of sparks, he saw it at the glowing core. It pulsed like a beating heart, flooding the room with light. He understood immediately that was the source. That was what powered the cages, the weapons, the entire ship. And if it was destroyed, maybe, just maybe, it would destroy the aliens too. Daniel's hand tightened around the shard of alien metal. His chest felt heavy. He knew what this meant. Destroying the core might free his children, but it would also end him. The alien leader lifted its head, its burning eyes flickering. "You cannot win. Even now you are trapped. The test ends with your surrender." Daniel shook his head slowly, his voice quiet but steady. "No. The test ends with my choice." He turned to his children. Emily was sobbing now, shaking her head. "No, Daddy, please don't do it. Don't leave us." Daniel dropped to one knee, pulling both of them close. He kissed the top of their heads, holding them as tightly as his broken body allowed. Tears spilled freely down his face. "Listen to me," he whispered. "You are the best parts of me. You're my whole world, and no matter what happens, you will live, you will grow, you will love, and I'll always be with you, here." He pressed his hand against their small chests. "In your hearts." Noah's face twisted with anger and pain. "No, don't say goodbye. Fight with us, Dad." Daniel's voice cracked, but he smiled through his tears. "I am fighting. This is how I fight." He stood again, turning toward the core. The aliens hissed, moving to block him, but Daniel roared with a strength he didn't know he still had. He swung the glowing shard in wild arcs, slashing at anything in his path. Sparks flew, bodies crashed. The children screamed his name, but Daniel kept moving, step by step, through pain, through fire, through terror. His eyes never left the glowing heart of the ship. The alien leader staggered forward, its voice booming weakly. "Human, stop. This path destroys you." Daniel spat blood onto the floor. "Then watch me burn." He reached the core. It pulsed, brighter now, sensing him as if alive. The energy was so strong it shook his bones. His hand shook violently as he raised the shard above his head. For 1 second, he froze, not out of fear, but because he thought of his children's faces one last time. Emily's soft smile. Noah's fierce eyes. His wife's voice echoed in his mind. "Promise me. Protect them, no matter what." He whispered back, his voice barely audible. "I kept my promise." Then, with every ounce of strength left in his body, Daniel drove the shard into the core. The chamber exploded with light. A sound like thunder ripped through the ship. The walls rippled, the floor split, the air screamed with energy. Daniel's body was thrown upward, his arms flung wide, but he didn't let go of the shard. He held it deep inside the core as fire and light consumed him. His children cried out. "Daddy!" The aliens shrieked, their glowing bodies flickering and shattering into sparks. The leader roared one last time before collapsing in silence. The core pulsed wildly, then cracked open, spilling white fire across the chamber. A blinding wave surged outward, swallowing everything. Emily and Noah felt a sudden force under their feet, like the floor itself had thrown them upward. They were hurled through a glowing tunnel, their screams lost in the roaring storm. Then, just as suddenly, they were outside, on a quiet street in their city. The night was calm. The stars shone above. But the massive alien ship that had hovered there only minutes ago was gone. In its place, the sky flickered with fading light like the afterglow of a dying star. The children collapsed to the ground, shaking, crying. Emily buried her face in Noah's chest. Noah held her tightly, his small body trembling. He looked up at the empty sky, tears burning his eyes. "Dad," his voice broke. "You did it. You saved us." Far above, Across the stars, the silent, alien council watched. They had seen the test 1,000 times. They had seen humans beg, kneel, and break, but never had they seen this. A father who refused the choice. A man who created a new answer. Their chambers grew quiet. Not a single voice spoke. Because they all knew one truth now. Humanity was no longer to be underestimated. And the silence of the A Council stretched across the galaxy. The silence that changed everything. The city street was quiet. Emily and Noah knelt on the cold pavement, their small bodies trembling. The last glow of the alien ship faded from the sky, leaving only a scattering of stars. For a long moment the world was still, as if even time itself had paused to honor what had just happened. Emily sobbed into Noah's chest, her thin shoulders shaking. He's gone. Daddy's gone. Noah held her tighter, his own tears spilling down his face. His voice cracked, but he tried to sound strong. No. He's not gone. He saved us. He's still with us. Just not here. Emily lifted her face, her eyes wet and shining. But we need him. Noah swallowed hard, his chest aching. We'll keep him alive. In us. That's what he wanted. They sat there in silence. Two children wrapped in the echo of their father's sacrifice while the night around them felt bigger and lonelier than ever. Far above Earth, in a place no human had ever seen, the alien council gathered. Dozens of towering figures filled a vast chamber, their glowing eyes watching the empty void where the test ship had been. For centuries, these beings had tested species across the stars. Every test had ended the same way: surrender, weakness, compromise. But this time had been different. The leader of the council finally spoke, its voice rumbling through the silence. He refused. Another voice answered, slow and uneasy. He broke the rule of the test. He did not choose. He destroyed the choice itself. A third whispered, almost afraid. He gave his life for his children. He created an answer we did not predict. The chamber filled with silence again. These beings, who thought they had seen everything the universe could offer, now trembled at the unpredictability of humanity. Back on Earth, the children were not alone for long. Neighbors, frightened by the strange light in the sky, came running. They found Emily and Noah sitting in the street, clothes torn, eyes full of shock. The people asked questions, tried to comfort them, but the children could barely speak. Emily only whispered one word, again and again. Daddy. Noah sat silent, staring at the stars. He felt something deep inside him. A fire, small but unbreakable. His father's last words echoed in his mind. I'll always be with you. In your hearts. Noah clenched his fists. His father had given everything. Now it was up to them to carry that light forward. Days passed. The world above them looked normal again. People went to work. Cars filled the streets. Life carried on. But Emily and Noah knew the truth. Nothing was normal anymore. They had seen the stars. They had seen the monsters who tested humanity. And they had seen their father stand tall against them. Every night, Emily drew pictures of him. Standing, with his mop, standing with the glowing shard, standing like a hero. Noah sat beside her, whispering stories of how their dad fought, how he never gave up, how he saved them both, and together they promised themselves they would never forget. But it wasn't only the children who remembered. In hidden corners of the galaxy, whispers spread. Other species had watched, other worlds had seen. The council's silence spoke louder than any words. For the first time in their history, the council had no answer. One alien voice finally broke the quiet. What if all humans are like him? Another replied, its tone uneasy. Then humanity will change the galaxy forever. And still the chamber of the council remained silent. Because deep down every one of them knew the truth. A single father had already changed it. On Earth, Emily and Noah stood one night by their window, staring at the stars. Emily's voice was soft. Do you think he's up there, watching us? Noah nodded slowly. I know he is, and one day we'll make him proud. Emily slipped her small hand into her brother's. Together they stood tall, just like their father had stood. The galaxy had expected weakness. The galaxy had demanded surrender. But what they got instead was defiance, not from a soldier, not from a king, not from a warrior, from a single dad, a janitor, a man with nothing, except everything. And what he did next silenced everyone. But Daniel was already moving. He swung the mop handle with all his strength, smashing it against one of the glowing tubes on the floor. The tube cracked, bursting with sparks of blue energy. The chamber flickered, lights stuttering like a heartbeat, skipping. The aliens hissed in unison, their voices vibrating in the air. Daniel didn't stop. He struck again, slamming the mop into another cable. Sparks erupted, showering the floor. The cages flickered, their glowing energy weakening for just a moment. "Daddy," Emily cried. "Do it again." Daniel's chest burned, his arm shaking, but he lifted the mop again. Before he could swing, an alien grabbed him, its massive hand clamping around his arm like steel. Daniel roared in pain, struggling wildly. He slammed his knee into the alien's chest. It didn't budge. But Daniel wasn't fighting to overpower. He was fighting to survive long enough. With his free hand, he jammed the broken mop handle upward, right into the alien's glowing eye. The creature staggered back with a screech, its face sparking. Daniel ripped his arm free and stumbled forward, gasping. The other aliens hissed louder now, moving toward him in a blur of motion. Daniel's heart pounded. He knew he couldn't fight them head on, but maybe he could outsmart them. He dashed toward the control console. The mop handle was nearly burned through, but it was still in his grip. He swung it down, smashing the glowing surface. The alien symbols sparked, flickering wildly. The cages behind him flashed bright, then dimmed, their force fields weakening again. Emily screamed, "It's working, Daddy, it's working!" The alien leader raised both arms. Energy surged across the chamber, a blinding wave that slammed into Daniel and threw him against the floor. He hit hard, the breath knocked from his chest. Pain exploded through his ribs. For a moment his vision blurred, but then he heard it. Noah's voice. "Get up, Dad. Please, get up." Daniel groaned, forcing his battered body to move. Every muscle screamed in protest, but he pushed himself onto his knees. His hand still clutched the mop handle, blackened with burns. His vision cleared just enough to see the cages flickering again, almost breaking open. The alien leader stepped forward, towering above him. "Foolish human, you cannot win. You are nothing." Daniel coughed, spitting blood onto the floor. Then he looked up, his eyes blazing with defiance. "Nothing? No. I'm a father, and that makes me everything." With the last of his strength, he hurled the mop handle at the cracked console. It struck with a loud crack, sparks exploding like fireworks. The cages flared, their energy collapsing for a brief shining moment. Emily and Noah screamed as the doors burst open. They stumbled forward, free at last. "Run!" Daniel shouted, his voice hoarse but powerful. "Go!" The aliens roared in, anger, rushing to block them. But Daniel leapt in front of his children, arms wide, body shaking but unbroken. He grabbed a piece of the shattered console, a jagged shard of glowing metal, and held it like a blade. His voice thundered across the chamber. "You'll have to go through me first." For the first time, the aliens hesitated. The leader's burning eyes narrowed as though trying to understand this impossible human. A janitor, armed with nothing but scraps and fury, standing against an empire. The chamber shook again, lights, flashing, sparks raining down from the ceiling. Emily clung to Noah's hand. Noah's eyes shone with pride. "He's not just a janitor," the boy whispered. "He's our dad." Daniel stood tall, chest heaving, the shard of alien metal glowing in his hand. His entire body ached, but his spirit blazed brighter than ever. The tables had turned and the aliens were no longer in control, humanity's defiance. The chamber shook with power. Sparks rained from the ceiling like falling stars. Daniel stood at the center, his chest heaving, a jagged shard of alien metal gripped tight in his hand. His children were free now, standing behind him, their small faces pale with fear but shining with hope. The alien leader stepped forward, towering above him. Its glowing eyes blazed like fire. "You dare defy the test?" it thundered. Daniel lifted the shard higher, his voice raw but unbroken. "I told you already. I don't care about your test. I don't care about your laws. I'm not here to prove myself to you. I'm here to protect them." He pointed to Emily and Noah. "And I'll fight you all if I have to." The aliens hissed in unison, their voices vibrating through the floor. The sound made the walls ripple like liquid metal. They moved closer, circling him like predators around prey. Noah's fists clenched. "Dad, don't let them take us again." Emily whispered, "Daddy, please don't leave us." Daniel glanced back at them, his eyes soft for only a second. "I'll never leave you, never." Then his gaze hardened again as he faced the aliens. The first alien lunged. Its long arm swung down like a blade of steel. Daniel raised the shard, barely deflecting the blow. The impact rattled his bones. He staggered back, pain shooting up his arm, but he didn't fall. Another alien struck, energy sparking from its hand. Daniel ducked, the blast ripping a hole through the floor behind him. He rolled across the ground, gripping the shard tighter, and with a desperate roar, slashed at the alien's leg. The glowing blade cut deep, sparks bursting out. The alien shrieked, stumbling. For the first time, the impossible happened. An alien bled. The others hissed louder, furious. Daniel's heart pounded, his arms shook, but he felt it, the tiniest spark of victory. He wasn't powerless, he wasn't helpless. He could fight. The alien leader raised both hands. Energy swirled in its palms, bright as lightning. "Enough!" it roared. A blinding wave shot forward. Daniel braced for death, but before it could hit, Noah leapt in front of his sister, shielding her. "No!" Daniel screamed. At the last second, Daniel hurled himself sideways, knocking both children to the ground. The energy wave exploded against the wall, leaving a smoking crater. He pulled his kids close, his arms wrapped around them. His voice trembled but stayed fierce. "Stay behind me, don't move, no matter what." Emily sobbed but nodded. Noah's jaw trembled, but he whispered, "I'm not afraid, Dad." Daniel pressed a quick kiss to both their foreheads. "That's my brave ones." Then he rose again. He stood taller now, his body shaking, his face streaked with sweat and blood. The shard of alien metal glowed brighter in his hand, pulsing with strange energy. Maybe it was feeding off his will, his determination. Maybe it was just a broken piece of tech. He didn't care. The aliens closed in again. Daniel tightened, his grip, his voice cut through the chamber. "You wanted to see humanity, you wanted to test us. Then look closely. We don't give up. We don't kneel, we fight," he charged. The chamber erupted in chaos. Daniel swung the shard with desperate fury, slashing at anything that moved. Sparks flew as alien armor cracked under his blows. One alien roared as its chest split open. Another staggered back, its arm severed. The children cried out, their small voices echoing in the storm of battle, but they also cheered. "Go, Dad, you can do it!" Noah shouted. "Don't stop!" Emily screamed. Daniel's lungs burned. His body screamed for rest. But every time his strength began to fade, he heard their voices. And it pushed him forward again. The alien leader stepped into the fight, its body glowing with raw power. It towered over him, energy crackling across its arms. "You are nothing but a janitor, a worker, a speck of dust in the universe." Daniel's eyes blazed as he swung the shard upward, forcing the leader back. "You're wrong. I'm not just a janitor. I'm their father." His voice thundered. "And that makes me unstoppable." With a roar, he drove the shard into the leader's chest. Sparks exploded, flooding the chamber with light. The alien let out a deafening cry, collapsing to one knee. The others froze, their glowing eyes flickering uncertainly. They had never seen their leader fall. They had never seen a human fight like this. Daniel staggered back, gasping, his chest heaving like a drum. His arms trembled, his legs weak. He knew he couldn't hold out forever. He was bleeding, exhausted, nearly broken. but his spirit blazed brighter than the stars. He turned to the aliens, his voice ragged but defiant. You think we're weak because we cry. You think we're small because we bleed. But you don't understand. Our strength isn't in power. It's in love, in family, in sacrifice. That's what makes us human. The aliens stood frozen, their glowing eyes fixed on. Noah's small hand clutched Emily's, his voice whispering in awe. He's winning. Emily's tears turned into a smile. Daddy's not afraid anymore. The alien leader struggled, sparks pouring from its wound. Its voice cracked like thunder fading. Impossible. No human has ever resisted. Daniel's chest heaved. He raised the shard one last time, his voice steady. Then remember this. Humanity does not bow. Humanity fights. The chamber lights flickered violently, the walls trembling as if the entire ship was reacting. The test was collapsing, the system breaking under his defiance. And in that storm of sparks and fire, a single truth echoed across the alien ship. Humanity would not kneel. Not tonight. Not ever. The ultimate sacrifice. The chamber burned with chaos. Sparks fell like fire rain. The floor trembled beneath Daniel's feet. The alien leader, wounded and sparking, staggered back, its glowing chest cracked by the jagged shard. The other aliens hissed and shifted, unsure whether to attack or retreat. Daniel's chest heaved, his vision blurred from exhaustion, but he stood tall. His children were behind him, clutching each other, their small eyes wide with fear and hope. Daddy, Emily whispered, her voice trembling. Please don't leave us. Daniel turned his head just enough to look at them. The alien's head tilted. For the first time, a flicker of surprise crossed its glowing eyes. The silence in the chamber grew heavier, as though the walls themselves were listening. Then, the alien rumbled, we will show you the cost of defiance. One of the cages lit up brighter. Emily screamed as sparks danced around her. Daniel lunged forward, his body crashing against the alien guards who blocked his way. They shoved him back, but he did not stop. He threw himself at them again, fists flying, raw desperation giving him strength. The aliens barely moved, their towering forms absorbing his blows. But Daniel's madness startled them. He was not fighting to win, he was fighting because he refused to lose. Let them go, he roared, voice breaking. The aliens raised their arms. The glow in Emily's cage grew blinding. Daniel screamed, her name, his voice shattering into a cry of pure pain, and then, suddenly, the glow faded. Emily fell to her knees, sobbing. Noah banged on his cage harder than ever. Daniel's chest heaved as he dropped to the ground, exhausted, but his eyes blazed with fury. The alien leader lowered its arm. For a long moment, it only stared at Daniel. Then it spoke again, slow and deliberate. You refuse to obey, you resist the law of the test. Interesting. The chamber's lights shifted. The walls rippled with strange energy, as if the ship itself had felt the tension. Daniel dragged himself to his feet, his body trembling but his voice unbroken. I don't care about your test, I don't care about your rules. You're not gods, you're monsters. And I won't let monsters decide who my children are. The alien's burning eyes narrowed. Then you will fight the test, and you will suffer its weight. The cages glowed again, not with sparks, but with shifting symbols. The air thickened, heavy with power. Daniel stepped forward, fists clenched, ready to face whatever came next. His heart pounded with one truth. He might be a janitor, but tonight he was also a warrior. And the aliens had no idea what kind of fight they had started. The ultimatum was set. The real battle was about to begin. The father's resolve. The chamber was silent except for the sound of Daniel's breathing. His chest rose and fell quickly, his shirt damp with sweat. The glowing alien stood tall, watching him with those ember-like eyes. The cages flickered with strange blue light, holding Emily and Noah like prisoners of some nightmare. Daniel's fists were still clenched, his knuckles raw and bloody from striking the cages. He could taste copper in his mouth where he had bitten, his lip. His body ached, but his heart burned hotter than ever. He looked at his children again. Emily was shivering, tears streaming down her small face. She whispered softly, "Daddy, don't let them take me." Her voice cracked like glass. Noah tried to be stronger, his small jaw tight, his eyes blazing with anger. "Don't give them what they want, Dad. Don't." Daniel's chest tightened. His children, his entire world, were looking at him for hope. And in that moment, he remembered everything that had brought him here. Years ago, Daniel had stood in a hospital room holding his wife's hand. Machines beeped softly around her, but the doctors had already shaken their heads. She had smiled weakly at him, her eyes half closed. "Promise me," she had whispered, her voice barely audible. "Promise you'll protect them. Promise you'll raise them strong." Tears had poured down Daniel's face that day, but he had nodded. "I promise," he had said. It was the last promise he ever made to her. After she was gone, the nights grew long and heavy. Daniel worked jobs nobody wanted, cleaning toilets, scrubbing floors, carrying garbage through dark hallways. His hands grew rough, his back bent, but he never stopped. Every dollar he earned went to food, clothes, and school supplies for Emily and Noah. There were nights he returned home so tired he could barely stand, yet when Emily ran to him with her drawings, he smiled. When Noah asked him to play soldier, he forced his aching body to kneel and hold a toy gun. He lived for them. They were the reason he breathed. Now standing in the alien ship, those memories burned like fire in his chest. He had promised his wife. He had promised himself. And no alien law, no twisted test, could make him break that promise. Daniel's eyes hardened. He turned slowly, facing the aliens. His voice trembled at first, but grew stronger with every word. "You think I'll choose? You think I'll let one of my children die because you say so? No, never. You don't understand what it means to be human. You don't understand what it means to be a father." The alien leader tilted its head. Its burning eyes flickered, almost curious. "Explain." Daniel stepped forward, his fists still bleeding. "A father doesn't choose which child lives. A father protects both. Even if it costs him everything, you can torture me, you can kill me, but you will never make me betray them." His voice echoed through the chamber, bouncing off the glowing walls. Emily stopped crying for a moment, staring at her father with wide eyes. Noah pressed his face against the bars, whispering, "That's my dad." For the first time, the aliens seemed unsettled. They were creatures of cold calculation, used to seeing humans break under pressure, begging for mercy. But Daniel did not beg. He stood firm, his body shaking, but his eyes burning with fire. The alien leader's voice rumbled again. "Your defiance is unusual. Few resist this long. But resistance changes nothing. The test demands sacrifice. Refusal will bring destruction to all." Daniel shook his head slowly. "Then I'll find another way." The alien's eyes narrowed. There is no other way. But Daniel wasn't listening anymore. His gaze darted around the chamber. He noticed details he hadn't before. The way the walls pulsed when the cages flickered. The faint hum of energy flowing through thin tubes across the floor. Every detail mattered. His mind, sharpened by desperation, began to search for weakness. He spoke softly now, his voice only for his children. "Emily, Noah, listen to me. Don't be afraid. Whatever happens, I will not leave you. You are my life." Emily nodded quickly, tears on her cheeks but hope in her eyes. Noah clenched his fists, pressing his forehead against the bars. "We believe you, Dad. We're not afraid." Daniel smiled faintly, though his lips trembled. "That's my boy. That's my girl." The aliens moved closer. Their shadows stretched long across the floor. The leader raised a hand, and the cages glowed brighter again, warning him that time was running out. "Choose now," the alien said, voice like thunder, "or both shall be erased." Daniel's hand shook, but not from fear, from anger, from the burning storm inside him. He took a deep breath, his voice calm but hard as steel. I already told you. I will not choose. And if you think I will, Neil, you've chosen the wrong man. The chamber grew colder, the air vibrating with the alien's fury. But Daniel didn't flinch. He straightened his back, ignoring the pain in his muscles, and took a step closer to the glowing cages. I am not just a janitor, he said, his voice steady. I am their father, and I will fight until my last breath for them. The aliens watched, silent, their glowing eyes fixed on him, and in that silence, Daniel's resolve became unbreakable. He would not bend. He would not surrender. Whatever came next, pain, torture, even death, he was ready, because he had made a promise, and a father's promise was stronger than any alien test. Turning the tables, the chamber buzzed with a low hum like the walls themselves were alive. Daniel stood tall, sweat dripping from his forehead, his fists still raw and red. His children were watching him with wide, desperate eyes. Emily clung to the bars of her cage. Noah pressed his small hands against the glowing lines as if trying to break free with sheer will. The alien leader raised its hand again. The cages glowed brighter, energy sparking dangerously around them. Enough, the alien's voice rumbled. Human defiance is pointless. Your species is weak. You will break. Daniel's teeth clenched. His body screamed in exhaustion, but something inside him refused to give up. Weak? He spat, his voice shaking with rage. You don't know us, you don't know me. The aliens shifted, surrounding him like shadows. Their tall, metallic bodies moved without sound, their glowing eyes never blinking. To them, Daniel was nothing more than an insect, a fragile human with no weapons, no power. But Daniel still had something. He still had his mind. His eyes darted around the chamber, noticing things he had missed before. Thin wires along the floor pulsing with light. A control console at the far end filled with shifting alien symbols. Sparks flickered where he had slammed his fists earlier, leaving tiny cracks in the glowing patterns. An idea formed. Risky, desperate, but he had no choice. He took a slow step back, pretending to stumble. The aliens tilted their heads, watching. Daniel's breathing grew ragged, but his eyes flicked to the mop lying on the floor. It was still there. The wooden handle cracked, but not broken. A janitor's tool. His only weapon. His children noticed. Noah's eyes widened, following his father's gaze. Emily's lips trembled, but a spark of hope flickered in her eyes. Daniel lunged in a single motion. He dove for the mop, snatching it from the floor. The aliens reacted instantly, raising their arms, their bodies glowing brighter. A surge of energy shot past Daniel, slamming into the wall and exploding in a shower of sparks. The ground shook. The ordinary night, broken. The night was quiet, almost too quiet. In the tall building at the edge of the city, the janitor moved slowly from one hallway to another. His name was Daniel, a man with tired eyes and rough hands. Life had not been kind to him. His wife had died years ago, and since then he was both father and mother to his two young children. Every night when most people were resting at home, he was here pushing a mop, cleaning floors that nobody noticed. He often whispered to himself while working, "Just a little more, Dan. Tomorrow the kids will smile again." It was the thought of his children sleeping at home that gave him the strength to keep going. They were everything he had. The corridors smelled of dust and old paper. The lights above flickered once in a while, buzzing like tired insects. Daniel hummed softly, a broken tune that filled the silence. He wore the same faded uniform every night, with his name tag hanging loosely from his chest. His shoes squeaked faintly as he pushed the mop forward. At the end of the hall, a clock ticked. The sound echoed in the emptiness. Midnight. Another long night of work. Daniel stopped for a moment, resting on the mop handle. He thought about his kids again. His daughter Emily, always drawing on scraps of paper, her eyes full of dreams. His son Noah, who wanted to be a soldier, strong and brave like the heroes in his comic books. They were sleeping in their small, apartment right now, probably curled up in the old blanket that barely kept them warm. The thought made him smile sadly. The city outside the windows looked peaceful, covered in darkness. The streets below were nearly empty. But then, something strange happened. The lights in the building flickered harder, buzzing louder. Daniel frowned and looked up. "Not again," he muttered, thinking it was another power cut. But this time, it was different. The light turned sharp white, brighter than usual, hurting his eyes. The hum in the wires grew deeper, vibrating through the walls and the floor. He stepped back. His mop clattered to the ground. The sound of humming grew louder, like 1,000 engines starting at once. Daniel's heart began to race. Suddenly, he felt the air grow heavy, pressing down on his chest. The windows rattled as if something massive hovered outside. He rushed to the nearest window and looked out. His breath caught in his throat. Above the city, hidden partly by clouds, a shape moved. It was enormous, larger than any plane or blimp he had ever seen. Its surface glowed faintly with patterns of silver and green, shifting like liquid metal. Strange lights pulsed along its edges. For a moment, Daniel thought his mind was playing tricks. But no, it was real. Something huge was in the sky. What is that?" he whispered. The hum grew louder. His ears rang. He staggered back, away from the window. The floor beneath his feet vibrated. He grabbed the mop handle again, as if it could protect him. Then the light came. A beam of brilliant white burst through the ceiling, swallowing the corridor. Daniel screamed, shielding his face, but there was no escape. His body lifted from the ground, as if gravity no longer mattered. His shoes dangled, his arms thrashed in panic. The mop fell again, spinning away. "No! My kids are at home!" he shouted. The beam dragged him upward through the ceiling, through walls that seemed to melt away like paper. His heart pounded wildly. He wanted to fight, but the light was too strong. It pulled him higher, faster, until everything around him blurred. The buzzing stopped. Silence. Daniel opened his eyes slowly. He was no longer in the building. Cold air brushed against his skin. The ground beneath him was smooth, metallic. He staggered to his feet, gasping for breath. Around him stretched a vast chamber, lit by a strange blue glow. The walls were curved, covered in markings that pulsed with alien light. He turned his head and froze. 2 cages stood in front of him. Inside the first cage, he saw Emily. Her little hands clutched the bars, her wide eyes filled with terror. Inside the second cage was Noah, his fists banging against the cold metal, shouting for his dad. Daddy, help!" Noah screamed. Daniel's chest tightened. His heart nearly stopped. He rushed forward, pressing his hands against the cages. "Emily. Noah. Oh God, no. How did you—" His voice cracked. His children were here, trapped, crying, looking at him with desperation. Before he could understand, shadows moved around him. Figures stepped out of the glowing walls. They were tall, taller than any man, with thin bodies covered in shining armor. Their eyes glowed like burning embers. Their voices rumbled deep, echoing inside Daniel's mind rather than his ears. "You will choose," one of them said. Daniel's body shook. His knees almost gave out. What are you talking about? Let them go." The alien's head tilted slightly. "One child will live. One will die. Choose now." The words hit Daniel like a hammer. His mouth opened, but no sound came. His heart thudded painfully. His mind screamed, "This can't be real. This can't be happening." He looked at Emily, tears running down her cheeks. He looked at Noah, trying to act brave but trembling. His hands pressed against the bars until his knuckles turned white. The aliens stood silently, watching him, waiting. Daniel's voice broke into a whisper. No, I won't. You can't make me." The alien leaned closer, its glowing eyes unblinking. "Choose, or we will choose for you." Daniel's breath shook. He felt as if the whole galaxy had suddenly crashed down on his shoulders. And in that terrible moment standing between his children and the creatures that held them, he realized something. He was not just a janitor, he was a father. And a father does not surrender. The chamber fell silent, holding its breath. The ordinary night was broken forever. The alien ultimatum. The chamber pulsed with a strange blue light. Daniel's heart hammered inside his chest as he stood frozen between the cages that held his children. Emily's tiny hands were shaking on the cold metal bars. Noah's fists pounded again and again, his voice raw with anger and fear. "Dad, don't listen to them. Don't," Noah cried, his voice cracking. Daniel wanted to run to them, to tear the cages apart, to hold his children close. But the towering alien figures stood in his way. Their eyes glowed like burning coals, cold and merciless. Their movements were slow, deliberate, as if they already knew how the night would end. One alien stepped forward. Its body shimmered, made of armor that seemed alive, flowing like liquid metal. Its voice thundered directly into Daniel's mind. "You must choose. One will live. One will die. Decide quickly." The words slammed into him like knives. His throat went dry. His body shook. "Why?" Daniel screamed. His voice echoed across the chamber. "Why are you doing this? They're just children. They've done nothing to you." The alien tilted its head slightly, almost curious. Then it spoke again, calm and cruel. "This is the test. We measure the strength of species through choices. To rule the stars, one must be willing to sacrifice. Humanity must prove itself." Daniel stared in disbelief. "Sacrifice? You call murdering children a test?" His voice broke with rage. "I won't do it." The alien's glowing eyes burned brighter. "Then both will die." Emily let out a broken sob. "Daddy, please don't let them hurt us." Daniel pressed his forehead against the bars of her cage, tears spilling from his eyes. "I'm here, sweetheart. I won't let them touch you, I swear it." He turned to Noah. "Stay strong, son. I'll get you out of this." Noah gritted his teeth, his small body shaking. "Don't you dare choose me, Dad. Don't you dare choose Emily either. Don't play their game." Daniel's chest heaved. His son was right. Choosing meant surrendering to them, but refusing meant risking both children. The weight of the moment crushed him. His entire life, every struggle, every night of mopping floors, every sacrifice for his family, everything had brought him to this single moment. The aliens stood silently, waiting. Their patience was terrifying. They did not rush because they knew time itself was their weapon. They wanted him to break. Daniel looked around the chamber, desperate for answers. The walls glowed with shifting symbols, lines of strange energy. That seemed alive. He noticed how the cages pulsed in rhythm with those symbols powered by the alien technology. His mind raced. He was just a janitor, a man who scrubbed floors and fixed broken lights. He didn't know anything about alien science, and yet, maybe there was something he could do. But the alien spoke again, its voice pressing down like iron. "Choose now. Your time ends." Daniel's hands clenched into fists. His voice trembled, but it carried a sharp edge of defiance. "You think I'll just give in? You think I'll choose which child of mine dies? No. You don't understand. I'd rather die than betray them." The alien's glowing face came close, inches away from Daniel's. Its voice echoed cold and final. "You will choose. Or we will choose for you. That is the law of the test." The air around him grew heavy. The cages began to glow brighter, electricity sparking along the bars. Emily screamed as the light burned hotter. Noah shouted, trying to force the bars open with his bare hands. Daniel's body shook with terror, but rage burned hotter in his chest. "No!" he shouted. "Stop this!" He slammed his fists against the cage, his knuckles splitting open. Blood smeared across the glowing bars. The aliens did not move. They only watched. Memories flooded Daniel's mind. Emily's first steps, Noah's laughter when he chased pigeons in the park, the night his wife died, her last words, "Promise me, Dan, protect them, no matter what." He had promised. And now? That promise meant everything. His voice turned steady, filled with fire. I will not choose, you hear me, I will not choose.